now I'd like to introduce Ian Lilley. Ian Lilley is a professor from the University of Queensland, and he was also one of the very first persons involved in Camp Columbia, even before we had Camp Columbia. And I'll leave it to you to tell that story, because there's some very interesting elements that that links the UQ with what we are doing today. Ian.
Distinguished guests, colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my alma mater. It's not an official UQ event, so I'm not allowed to welcome you officially on behalf of the university, but I can greet you as someone whose family has been associated with UQ since its foundation, anything before that. My great-great-grandfather, Sir Charles Lilley, premier colonial personality, strongly supported education. In 1874, chaired a Royal Commission which recommended the immediate establishment of a state university. Sadly, that didn't happen in his lifetime, but the family connection continued because the university was initially set up in the city in old Government House, which was built by my great-great-great-grandfather, Joshua Jays. Bit of pioneer nepotism, he was Sir Charles's father-in-law. Generations of us have been coming to UQ since then, and I've always felt very attached to the place, even though I've not always been working here. But on that basis, I hope you find time to enjoy aspects of the campus other than sitting in this room. There's numbers of coffee shops, some of which will be open on the weekend, a couple of decent restaurants. We also have a lot of teaching and research facilities, most of which again won't be open on the weekend, but we've got various public museums and galleries, which you should be able to access next week if you're around. More important for our purposes here, the main front building of the university up over here in the sandstone, now known as the Forgan Smith building, saw its initial use not housing academics, but from 1942 to 44 was the land headquarters of General Sir Thomas Blamey, leader of the Australian Army at the time. Today the building forms part of the heritage listed Great Court, in part because of that crucial wartime role. Not much, unfortunately, remains of the World War II heritage, although I'm told that the rather luxurious bathrooms that I snuck into as an undergraduate, still there I believe, but now boarded up, were originally built for the military. We're talking 6-foot-long cast iron baths. I could swim in them. I also have long connections with the Wacol area. My dad was an Army aviator. We were based out there when I was a toddler. I did my own military training there at School Cadets and University Regiment. I met my wife in the University Regiment out there. I had no idea the Dutch were there. So the present Heritage Project doesn't come from my personal background. It originated in a Dutch government research project that I won for an archaeological study at the site. Now, I normally work on pre-colonial archaeology in Australia and the Indo-Pacific, but while I was a professor here at UQ, I was invited also to take up a new professorship in heritage at Leiden University in the Netherlands. So that gave me a strong Dutch connection. And in a roundabout way, my Dutch links combined with work that I was asked to do by the Pentagon regarding missing US service members to see me propose archaeological work on the Netherlands East Indies World War II headquarters at Wacol. Now, unfortunately, unbeknownst to me or the Dutch government funding agency before we started, that part of the vast army facility where Camp Columbia was located had been sold to the Queensland government, which built a number of prisons across the site. And for some reason the prison authorities didn't want me digging holes around them. But anyway, that greatly constrained our efforts. And then COVID struck, which effectively shut things down. We did manage some exploratory geophysical tests with the able assistance of Martin Wind, our Dutch consul, but that didn't really give us very much. So before things wound down, the Dutch embassy had connected me with Paul Uda. He very energetically picked up the baton to develop a public history of citizen science project on the public land adjacent to the prisons, as he mentioned. Actually, there's signs all along the road beside this public land saying, "Do not enter, unexploded ordnance." And my military training said, "Obey the sign." Paul didn't obey the sign, and he found on the other side the nature reserve, and the unexploded ordnance is a very long way away. So out we went. And he miraculously, really in my view, found the very edge of what was Camp Columbia under the Dutch. The last remaining, if you like, line of military lines, including Paul Jack is here from the museum, the WWII Museum in Arnhem. When I was visiting in the Netherlands, Paul Jack actually had a diary that had just come in from somebody, written by a young girl who was evacuated from Indonesia, or what is now Indonesia, and had lived in Camp Columbia. And in fact, there's a photo of her standing on the steps of the hut that we have the remains of in this last little tiny bit of Camp Columbia. So I think it was meant to be, really. Anyway, Paul's vision and determination has moved the project along with fabulous results, including this symposium, the organisation of which also benefited, as you mentioned, from a very large number of colleagues on his team. So congratulations, Paul and team, for taking things forward so ably, and I wish the project all continuing success, and thank you all here today for helping with that endeavour.